Chapter 8, The Firebrand, Inviting Others to a Life of Intimacy with God. The smallest burning ember can produce a raging inferno almost instantly. This is especially true in forest and high desert areas where dry vegetation and erratic winds regularly call for weather services to post red flag warnings. In the United States alone, wildfires consume 3 to 10 million acres of land and cause millions of dollars in damage every year. Some fires are intentionally set, others quite by accident. Regardless of their origin, wildfires have one thing in common. They start small and get quite big in a hurry. Once ignited, wildfires can spread at a rate of 14 plus miles per hour, consuming everything in their path. They do not die easily. Taking on a life of their own, they find ways to stay alive, often spawning new fires by throwing embers miles away. Those fire-spreading embers, called firebrands, may be small, but they are quite powerful. They contain all of the fury and force embodied in the flame from which they originate. Firefighters fear seed-sized firebrands equally as much as containing much larger hotspots. Contained areas will eventually burn out and lose their muscle. Firebrands wield the potential of spreading an unstoppable force. Colorado, my home for nearly 3 decades now, has had its bouts with wildfires and firebrands. The grandeur and beauty of Purple Mountain Majesty has had more than its share of gouging and scarring throughout the years. One of the most devastating fires in Colorado history took place in the Pike National Forest in 2002, the Hayman Fire. To date, it remains the largest wildfire by area, gutting nearly 140,000 acres of land and trees. Remnants of its destructive path remain today, in the form of bare hillsides and blackened trees. Beyond the natural destruction, the blaze took the lives of 5 firefighters and a civilian, destroyed 133 homes, and leveled 600 structures. Although controversial, the official court record holds that a Forest Service worker admitted to accidentally starting the blaze when, in a moment of emotional distress, she lit a letter from her estranged husband in a remote campfire ring near Lake George. One spark, one firebrand, one unforgettable blaze that continues to impact lives today, all from a woman whose anguish was so great it burned down a forest. The Hayman Fire is a tragic story. The devastation that one person's passion can spark is mind-boggling. But what if we imagine that story from another point of view? What if the firebrand was not a destructive coal of fire, but a burning ember of an always and forever love? Imagine the inextinguishable force of God's deep and abiding love carried to dry souls and kindled spirits ready to be ignited. Picture a love that spreads like wildfire as people encounter Jesus and, like firebrands, help set lives ablaze. There was a day, not too long after Satan thought he had the burning love of Jesus contained and buried, that a group of followers gathered in Jerusalem. Their hope was glowing. The writer of Acts tells us of firebrands igniting. Suddenly, A sound like the blowing of a violent wind came from heaven and filled the whole house where they were sitting. They saw what seemed to be tongues of fire that separated and came to rest on each of them. Peter, heart aglow, began to share with power and passion the story of a loving and great God. And by day's end, God set many hearts on fire. The blaze spread as the Holy Spirit began to blow the embers of God's love upon dry souls awaiting something real to ignite them. The movement of God's Spirit spread outward from Jerusalem in ways strategic planning and marketing could never pull off. People could not contain the warmth and light of what they had been given. They had to share it, and they did, many with the very cost of their lives. Even at an ultimate earthly cost, they knew the world couldn't take away what the world did not give. The fire of God's love, stoked by the ever-blowing wind of His Spirit, still burns today. His love is as potent and sweeping as ever. Those who are ignited by its consuming and transformative power affirm what the songwriter Rich Mullins penned. There's a wideness in God's mercy I cannot find in my own, and He keeps His fire burning to melt this heart of stone. Keeps me aching with a yearning, keeps me glad to have been caught in the reckless, raging fury that they call the love of God. Caught in the reckless, raging fury of God's love, we become firebrands. Our lives, though singular and seemingly small by worldly standards, take on profound significance as ones who live with hearts on fire and lives on purpose. Set ablaze, the fire of God's love spreads wherever we go. Forging forward toward legacy. God ignites His life-giving, fire-spreading love in us when we grab hold of His invitation to a life with Him. His offer does not require the need for strenuous religious activity, theological box-checking, or please me if you can hoop jumping. He only asks that you believe in and follow after His Son, Jesus, who lived, died, and rose again so that God's love and life might be ignited in you. If you've never experienced the life, forgiveness, freedom, and joy that saying yes to a relationship with Jesus brings, what would keep you from praying the following right now? God, here I am, and I no longer want the distant from you, cold, dead, and buried life I've been living. Forgive me for all the ways I've lived away from you and managed life on my own terms. I want the warmth and light the fire of your love brings. I desire and receive your generous offer of an up-close, everyday life with you. God's love ignited in you will spark a heart on fire, life on purpose, movement in and through your life. His love will mold your character, fuel your purpose, brighten your outlook, and fill you with joy. Such love cannot be hidden or extinguished. God's love ablaze in your heart will influence others and fulfill His kingdom plans in exponential ways. Where, when, and how God spreads His love through you isn't something easily explained, nor need it be. Your job is to stay close to the fire of God's love and allow the outflow of your life with Him to be the greatest gift you offer the world. Your prayer as one forged by fire. What would it look like to daily make this your earnest prayer? Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on us. Fall fresh on me. Early, often, day by day, conversation by conversation, life encounter by life encounter. May the fire of your love melt me, mold me, fill me, and use me, that in all things you are always on display. See, religion will never keep a heart burning, nor will sincere moral ideals, growth plans, dutiful devotions, ardent Bible study, theological constructs, or even compassionate care for the least, last, and lost. One thing alone will keep your heart ablaze. Jesus simply called it the one thing needful. John the Revelator referred to it as our first love. It's a heart on fire, life on purpose, abiding life with God, available to any and all who actively embrace it. Night is falling. The fire of God's love burns brightly within the forge. Unmistakably, the invitation rings out from among the flames. It's the voice of God Himself calling you. Come,